Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica, Imperialis and to today's video. Today is going to be my thoughts on the Warhammer Online Preview 3. First off, I should say I'm sorry for the radio silence on the channel for a while. I was unwell with probably that thing that's going round, and then I was very busy getting back to teaching, so I've been a little bit off my game in terms of getting the channel running, so I'm sorry about that, but hopefully things should start getting back to normal now. There will hopefully be lessons in the coming weeks, as well as lore videos, and whatever else I can get out. But let's talk about Preview 3. I know I'm late, but that's because I was ill. So Preview 3 is an interesting beast, because I don't think much of what we've seen in this show was part of the Adepticon reveals. I think GW did discuss this maybe on the streams, but I wasn't able to watch it. Because this stuff feels like stuff that would have been revealed after the Adepticon reveals had dropped and come out. Because of the fact that some of them, particularly certain ones that we'll discuss, overshadow the Adepticon reveals. They're bigger, in some cases literally, and I don't think they would have dropped and been revealed until the hype for the other faction had had a chance to pass through the community. They would have come out, the hype would have died down for a bit, and boom, new thing. Because otherwise you've got too much competing hype and too many competing sales. I don't know, might just be me. Anyway, let us begin, shall we? So we start off with a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The Sons of Behemat, the Mega Gargons for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now these guys were teased at one of the earlier online previews. I have preview 1 in my head, and I'm not willing to die on that hill, but I think it's preview 1. And that was a fantastic teaser to start building up hype for the Sons of Behemat. But I said at the time I didn't think we were going to see more of the Sons of Behemat until the Lumineth were ready, because the Lumineth would drop and then we could start building toward the Sons of Behemat, rather than having Lumineth hype train, it's going, whoop, have some giants, which is going to completely not maybe completely derail the hype train, but certainly not help the Lumineth hype train, because, you know, Mega Gargons. And speaking of those Mega Gargons, let's take a look at them, shall we? So, these are Titanic miniatures. I'll show you the scale later, but they're basically between 1.5 and 2 Gargants high. They are monstrous. And it's all one kit. Something that I think has been lost in recent times has been the modularity of some GW kits. They very much felt, here's the pose, here's the miniature, build it that way. You mad person, why would you do anything else? I'm looking at you, Commander Shadow Sun. But, with that said, this kit is entirely modular. It's one kit for all the Gargants that you see on the screen, and probably a bunch more. So this one is probably the Chaos variant due to the Tabard. But they are genuinely really dynamic and impressive miniatures. I think they might all share the same legs. That might just be me at a glance saying that, but they're really impressive nonetheless. Like, that club is made of I don't even know what. You've got the classic nets that some of the Gargons would have as stealing victims. And then with this one, you've got sort of a nod to Bragg the Gutsman almost from the Ogre armies. You've got a big Empire crest, a giant bell. I mean, it's probably not a screaming bell. You've got a gravestone. It's some really, really impressive stuff. And all out of one kit, yeah, sign me up for that. Sign me right up for all of that. So yeah, here's the scale. That's a Gargant. That's a Mega Gargant. It's a little bit nuts. And I kind of love it. So yeah, approve. So, the Sons of Behemat are an army standalone, where you get the Eldguns, the Gargant, and these 3 variants of the Mega Gargant, which is kind of like the Imperial Knights. You have the baby one, and then the proper ones. There isn't like a scale above that for the equivalent to the Knight Dominus, or below the Eilguzzler for the Knight Armigers, but it's a decent parallel. And the interesting thing is this bit at the bottom. Every single Warhammer Age of Sigmar faction can take one of the Sons of Behemoth as their ally. Okay, so we've got a universal mercenary ally system that isn't the mercenary system, because the mercenary companies were introduced in the General's Handbook after Forbidden Power came out. So they were really cool. I loved the mercenary companies. I never got to use one because I wanted to use the Blood Knights one, and the other ones there didn't really have the same armies as me. But they were a really cool idea to get different sort of powerhouse units into different armies. And I think one of them was actually a pile of Eilguzzler Gargants, now that I recall. This seems to work more on the allies basis. So you take one as your ally rather than you pay for it as a mercenary. But I think this will be a very interesting one to watch in terms of the meta. Because A, how powerful are the Mega Gargants? And B, what is that going to do for armies that don't have massive monsters in their army, or potentially have a weak spot that could be covered by having a massive monster, such as resilience, target priority, cracking massive units in turn, character assassination, speed. I don't know. I'm really interested to see what this does to the meta if you can now have Mega Gargants stomping around in every single army. Who will use it? Who won't? How will they use it? I don't know. I'm really curious on that. So, yeah, approve of that, but one to watch because it could get a bit silly if they overpower or underprice them. Just watch this space. Next, we're on to Blackstone Fortress, the end of Blackstone Fortress, it seems, with the Ascension expansion pack. So it seems like Precipice is screwed. The Blackstone Fortress is known as Precipice, for those of you who haven't kept up. And there's a lot of trouble. You've got to save the station and defeat the Chaos Lord Obsidius Malex for the 3rd time. And you've got new adventures, new rewards, and new enemies, such as the Guardian drones. And yes, that's a spindle drone in its hand. Again, huge. In the context of Blackstone, they're huge enemies. So, yeah, I like that. It's a nice scaling up of the enemies. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see if there's any new lore shown off there. I believe there's a novel to accompany this, Blackstone Fortress Ascension, which will be the sort of official canon version of events. So, yeah, one to watch. Now, forgive me, for the next 5 minutes probably, I'm going to have a bit of a gush and a bit of a hype train and also a bit of a lore ramble, so bear with me. Say hello to the K-Knight Shadow Stalkers. These are the first warband for Warcry that is not aligned with Chaos. So previously you've had the Chaos warbands, the 8 of them. You had the other armies getting rules for Warcry to send warbands in, and this is the first dedicated non-Chaos warband for Warcry. And we knew these were coming, but what we get is actually really interesting. And I'm not saying that just because they're elves. I'm saying that because I like the lore of this game. But they are spies from Marathi. Stealthy, like mist in the shadows, and with aesthetics akin to the Shades. And here are the miniatures. And okay, yes. Shut up and take my money. Shut up and take my money. I love this miniature. I won't lie, the first time I saw it, I thought that cloak was a snake tail, because I was looking at it on a small screen, I wasn't watching the stream live, I thought that was a snake tail. But it's not, it's a cloak that becomes shadow/solid matter. You've got these ebon, green glowing weapons and staves and sickles and whatever, and everything about this miniature. You've still got the Daughters of Cain headdress, which you see on hag queens and the like, so you can still clearly identify it as being Cainite. Though I'll be interested to know why they have the full cover face mask, because that's not a Daughters of Cain thing to do. In fact, the only people who wear masks are those on the Bloodrat Shrine, because it stops the Bloodrat Medusa killing them, or at least it used to in the old fluff, and I think it's still true now. So yeah, I love this, I'm assuming, leader miniature. This miniature, I have a question. Well, I have a question and I have an answer for that question. So, this is a clearly male Servant of Cain armed with dual repeater crossbows. A really lovely callback to the shades, and yeah, it's a great miniature. But I actually went and looked this up. In the Daughters of Cain battle tome, it talks about the fact that male elves in the courts of the daughters are born exceptionally weak, very feeble, and they're used as nothing but menials. And Morathi designed it that way. She's designed all the males of her courts to be exceptionally feeble and weak, and it's kind of like the whole Malekith doesn't want a male sorcerer because the prophecy said the male sorcerer would kill him. I don't know, but basically she completely manipulates events so that all male elves she creates are feeble and weak, and even all males born after the fact in the courts are also exceptionally weak and would never serve as a warrior in the courts of the Daughters of Cain. The only ones who fight are the Doomfire Warlocks, who manage to blend themselves with the shadow magic of Ulgu in order to manipulate it. They become one with the shadows and then get branded by Morathi with bonds of control because she's very, very wary of the fact that that's not her power, that's Ulgu's. So my logic for why these miniatures are male is that they are infused somehow with the magic of Ulgu, allowing them to blend and become one with the shadows, and have then been subsequently branded by Morathi. But rather than manipulate the power of Ulgu and actually unleash magic, because though elves are magical beings, not all of them are sorcerers, these guys are just warriors who maybe can manipulate the shadows to their advantage without unleashing actual shadow magic. That's my logic, and I wait to see the actual lore reason why we've got male elves fighting in the court of Morathi. I'm curious. I've got a reason, I'm just curious. And sort of this miniature might actually embody more what I mean. The gender's not immediately obvious, might actually be female now that I look at it again. But either way, the idea that they can use their cloaks as weapons and almost transform them with shadow magic, same as with the leader miniature actually, made me think that maybe these guys have got some sort of magical bond with Ulgu in some way, or they're infused with the power of Ulgu in some way to allow them to stay in the shadows, act as spies, operatives, assassins and the like. But either way, especially this leader miniature, I love them. These are fabulous miniatures, and whilst I'm exceptionally biased because I have a Daughters army and a Nithoneth army, and I'm getting a Lumineth army, and I've got some High Elves, and I've got some Dark Elves for Cities of Sigmar for my Order Serpentis. Yeah, I'm biased, but I still love these miniatures regardless. I think they're lovely. So, gush over, it was about 5 minutes. Sorry, let's move on. So, then we get another Lumineth miniature. This is, remind me of the name, the Sinari Cathalar. So, this is a really interesting design, and I have a few thoughts, because of course I do. The inverted colour scheme with really dark robes really suits sort of the dark aspect of this miniature, because they use and weaponize the negative emotions of the Lumineth stored in ether quartz so that they can have no emotions at all, as like tools of war, using despair, fear, grief as actual weapons, and that's what the Sinari do. The headdress is ridiculous, but then it's the Lumineth. All of them are ridiculous. I don't know what the waist thing is all about. I don't know why that's there. That just seems like unnecessary I'm going to never walk through a door problems. But the chalice is cool, and the miniature's design overall is pretty interesting. The veil, how are you going to paint that face? I don't have a flipping clue. Thanks, Kirioth, for pointing that one out to me. But I find it interesting that there's another miniature who projects grief and fear and despair as a weapon. And that's Lady Olinda, who wears a veil. And now the Scenari Cathalar does it. And they're wearing a veil. Just me? Just me who finds that interesting? Yeah, probably just me. Let's move on. So, Blood Bowl on Dark Souls mode. They're not allowed to call it Dark Souls mode, but I can, so I'm going to call it Dark Souls mode. Blood Bowl gets Snotlings. The Snotling Pump Wagon is back, reimagined in miniature for the first time in God knows how long. And yeah, it's cool to have Snotlings. So yeah, I admit I don't play Blood Bowl. If I did, I'd probably play Dark Elves. But these are really nice miniatures. They're really characterful, with the hats and the mushrooms, a little horn blower. You've got this guy trying to throw a rock. You've got Captain Sock down here. They're just really characterful miniatures, as Snotlings should be, really. They're not powerful, they're not dangerous, not really, anyway. Yeah, I love the character of these miniatures. They're not for me. Let's get a better look at that pump wagon. They're not for me. Blood Bowl's probably not for me in general, but it's really cool miniatures nonetheless, and I can't knock it. Now, on we go to the Horus Heresy Warhammer 30k, and we get, for the character series, 1 Saul Tarvitz. Let me pop this out so you can get a better view. 1 Saul Tarvitz. Emperor's Children Legion, obviously, and has a very prominent role to play in the early events of the Heresy, with being involved in the defense of Istvan III on the loyalist side, and generally being a lot of a badass. So yeah, cool miniature. I really like the sword. The pose is very generic. It's, in some ways, if you move his right hand, he's basically Guilliman. Well, he's not, but the pose reminds me of Guilliman in many ways. It's very classic action hero pose, but I do like it, and it's a nice miniature for the character series, so yeah, approve. Well done. First ever named Space Marine for the Horus Heresy. Ah, yes, I always forget that bit. My Heresy history is not the best, but yeah, it's really cool that we've got Tarvitz in there. He deserves it, he really does. Mace of Aaron next, please. And now we get to the other part of the show that I don't think would have been anywhere on anyone's radar around Adepticon. So this is Psychic Awakening Pariah. And I remember in Preview 2 when we got to see Ephrael Stern and her Harlequin companion for Psychic Awakening 9 Pariah, everyone was flipping out because where are the Necrons? You've literally called this thing Pariah. Where are the freaking Necrons, GW? I admit I wasn't that angry, but I was surprised to see no Necrons. Well, now we get Necrons. So, yeah, Ephrael Stern and Kaiganil already exist. I'm not going to play the trailer. It's a nice trailer. It's actually got the Inquisitor character from the very first Psychic Awakening teasers. It's the same voice actress, so I assume it's the same Inquisitor as well. And I like that we've now, as we're coming, I assume, toward the end of the Psychic Awakening, coming full circle and letting her take the field. I like that. And then we get this. Illuminor Caesaras. Oh boy. Okay. Illuminor Caesaras was that spider Necron who walked around on 4 legs when he was first released. He was tiny, he was a cool character, and I liked his rules, but he was just some guy. He's had a titanic upgrade. Oh, blimey, this miniature has got a lot going on, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this miniature. Point poor sap down there, I'm sorry to be, I would not want to be you. Cesaras is presumably a lot bigger now. Looking at him next to this character, this human on the floor. His weapon is pretty brutal. It's like half war scythe, half cryptek staff, which is very appropriate. And yeah, like, look at all this stuff. Look at all this stuff. The legs, you still got the 4 legs aspect, but much bigger. Got all of this going on. Wow. I love this miniature. I really do. Necrons. Necrons got that. Well deserved, Necrons. Welcome back to the game. Yeah. Amazing miniature. And now we have our antagonist for Psychic Awakening 9. Like, Ephrael Stern probably will act as an independent third party. And you've got then the Inquisition, and we saw Space Marines in the trailer, up against the Necrons. And we've also got some new rules that we get to see. So Cesaras has had an upgrade, allowing him to inflict more perils of the warp, which makes sense because the Necrons have no psychic power, so it makes sense to give them some more psychic defense. I know the Tau didn't get that, but that's because they have no psychic real anything anywhere, so why would they have psychic defense? So it's fine. I mean, actually, they did they get psychic defense from Father Enclaves? I forget right now. But yes, we get also Lord Inquisitor Kyria Draxus, which is the Inquisitor I made reference to earlier. And I don't want to be that contrarian in the room. I don't. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Like, I like the idea of using a mashup of Xenos equipment, like the Shuriken Carbine and the segmented armor, which is very clearly Eldari inspired, crossed with the boots, which are much more in line with the Imperium, and having the Xenos skull on her shoulder, and carrying around a freaking dragon. Like, that's all cool, but when you put it all together, I don't like it. Something about it just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. I don't get it. It's not that it's over-designed. It's not that the pose is bad. It's not that the head or anything is wrong. It just doesn't click for me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't want to be a downer, but that I don't like that miniature. I'm sorry. Carrying a shuriken catapult, uses a live alien, super radical Inquisitor, which is good stuff, and she'll be coming out with Pariah. Now, this is the other release that I think wouldn't have been anywhere for a while, because bear in mind, at the stage of the Adepticon reveals, Psychic Awakening 7 hadn't happened yet. Psychic Awakening 6 was roughly dropping around that time, and that's now on sale. Welcome back to the GW web store, great to see you. But Psychic Awakening 7 was still a ways off, so we got the first reveal of Psychic Awakening 8, War of the Spider, which is about right and sort of normal for the Psychic Awakening. And yet now, before 7 has had a chance to drop, we're seeing 9, and Cesaras and this Inquisitor have rather overshadowed both 8 and 7. Because 7 had a lot of cool stuff, but no named characters. 8 had a named character, Fabius Bile, and a great upgrade to Fabius Bile, but Cesaras' upgrade is much better. So it's kind of overshadowed them both, and which is why I think this wouldn't have been revealed until after Psychic Awakening 7 had come out, let the little hype from Engine War die down, and then boom, Necrons, so that we've only got 2 Psychic Awakenings running in parallel, but that's just the way these things have to be with the way the world is. Just an observation. We get our next Warhammer Storyforge piece, Hammer and Bolter Episode 2. We've got Sisters of Battle. It's a cool art style. It is a cool art style. You get to see a bit of the concept art here. Very much approve of that. Sisters Elena and Agatha. Both of which I'm assuming are just regular battle sisters. So yeah, it's good stuff there. Very quick, but Warhammer Storyforge have really got their gaming gear with Death's Hand and the Angels of Death trailer from Preview 2. They really seem to have a handle on things, and it is very impressive. And we also got to see some brand new miniatures as well that were going to be available as I think these are made to order or event exclusives. So we've got first off Sister Tariana Palos, taken from the Sisters of Battle Codex art from a previous edition, actually, which is a really cool design. The grenades look great, the bolter looks great, the whole miniature looks excellent. I really like that miniature. And we get Lexicanum Varus, a firstborn Terminator Librarian. I think one of the firstborn miniatures we've had in a long time, i.e. not Primaris, for those who don't speak the lingo, which is cool. It's very much Generibob the Librarian, but it's kind of hard not to do Generibob the Librarian because even Tigurius kind of looks a little bit generic. So yeah, it's good stuff. Two very nice miniatures there that are available. Details, they were actually on made to order. They've probably gone by now because of the fact that I'm recording this so late. So sorry about that. But they are some good stuff. And yeah, borrowed from an old Sisters of Battle. Is it? Yeah, previous Sisters of Battle artwork. It's really cool stuff. So yeah, very much approve. Scroll through that slowly. So yeah, they'll be gone by now because it's already been a couple of weeks since this preview. Sorry. And they did say there's going to be another one in May. We haven't had the details on that yet. It's, what's the date of the time I'm recording this? It is the 6th of May on the day I'm recording this, and we have yet to have any details of that. But yeah, plenty going on. There's a lot in this preview. It's a really nice show. Obviously, not being constrained by the Adepticon reveals, I think has allowed it to really spread itself and go nuts. So the Sons of Behemat look great. Caesaras looks amazing. The Shadow Stalkers, I'm exceptionally biased, but I love them. There's some really cool stuff here. And I think as a follow-up to Adepticon, if this had been like a reveal show done, say, a month after Adepticon, no one would have been complaining. There's some really good stuff in here, and I definitely can't complain. So good show. Sorry I'm so late on talking about it, but I do like it. Sorry about my feelings on the Inquisitor. It just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. But that's just my opinion. I'm just some rambler on the internet. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What did you think of Preview 3? What's your favourite miniatures? What's your least favourites? What are you most looking forward to? And are you still hyped up for things like the Lumineth and Psychic Awakening 8 now that you've seen the Sons of Behemat and Psychic Awakening 9? That will depend on your taste, of course. If you're a Necron lover, you won't care for Bile, you'll care for Zeras. If you're a elf person like me, you care for the Lumineth and not the Behemat. But hey, let me know your thoughts. I'm always interested to see what you have to say in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and I'll see you all again. Bye for now.